I do think that if it was a referendum on anything, it was a referendum on the 2014 federal budget, which has been a train crash for the coalition, really. It's been a shocker. And underlying all politics at the moment, both state and federal, is what I believe is a real disconnect between, in terms of the taxing ability of the government and the spending that's been created, and the inability of governments everywhere really to increase income taxes, both corporate and personal. They can't do it because of the way that companies and rich individuals are moving money around the world. The whole competition between governments around the world means that it's very difficult for anyone to increase company tax rates or to increase marginal income tax rates, and that's what the problem is. Means that everyone's trying to, and has been for some time, trying to move taxation to indirect taxes, consumption taxes of various sorts, excise and so on. And that's what's been stopped by the Senate, really, spending cuts and indirect taxes. And, this is going to continue to be a theme, I think, for years ahead.
Yeah, especially as we expect the government to start tackling taxation reform in the years to come. The GST reform is the one that everyone talks about. Do you anticipate that will be a real sticky issue for the government to tackle?
Oh, well, the GST, or consumption tax, came up in the first taxation review in 1975 and was recommended, right? But then it took another 25 years to be actually implemented. At 10%, and everyone's kind of declaring and vowing and declaring that it's never going to be increased. And look, I'm not in favour of increased GST. I think it's a regressive tax that hits the poor too much. I'm not in favour of increasing GST, but I also recognise that the government cannot increase personal income tax margins or company tax.
So one thing that has been levelled at the Abbott government, regardless of the fairness of the last budget, was their sales job in preparing the Australian public for it. Do you think that's the real task for them in 6 months' time, when they have to do another budget, is to actually create some momentum in the public to make it more support for it and kind of force the Senate's hand? Well,
this is the challenge for all politicians, especially federal politicians, who happen to find themselves in government, is to explain this problem. That basically they cannot go for income taxes to the extent that they used to, and indirect taxes, led by the GST, have to take the burden. Now, they have to explain that and do it in a kind of a responsible way. And that's especially the case now that the mining boom's ended, because, during the mining boom, everything was fine. There was so much money rolling in, nothing mattered. It was fine. The corporate income tax was such that really nothing was a problem. Now, with that going away, they've really got a problem. I mean, the deficit's going to blow out. They cannot increase company and income taxes in order to control the deficit. There's no way they're going to be able to tackle spending to the extent required. And so there has to be an increase in indirect taxes. Has to be. There's no question about it. And so they have to get going with it. And they have to talk to people and have to explain it. So that is the job, and it's not an easy job. It's going to be a tough one, and it might mean that Tony Abbott ends up becoming a one-term Prime Minister as well as Denis Napthine.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you think that the cattle he's got in the cabinet currently are up to that sales job if Tony Abbott wants to avoid being a one-term Prime Minister?
Well, so far, no. I mean, they all have to lift their game, including Tony Abbott himself. I think their performance in the first 12 months has been abysmal, really. So they all have to lift their game if this is going to be turned around.
They certainly need to pay heed to the weekend's result. Alan Kohler, thanks very much.
Thank you.